Yeah, what's up, everybody? Give me just a second to send out these links, right? I want to send out a couple of links. I want to invite some people. So give me just a second, right? Give me just a second. I want to get these brothers in here. Let me see. All right, got that copy. Give me just a second. Hold up, everybody. Hold up, everybody. Give me just a second. I'm gonna send out these links real quick. I want to get these brothers in here. We are going to be talking about should the laws in the Torah be applied today in modern times? Okay, I'm going to explain that in a little greater detail when we get this thing started. But first, I have to get the brothers in here, obviously, that I'm going to be having this discussion with. Okay, so I'm sending out the links right now. Y'all bear with me. And then while I wait on them to come in, I'll just talk to you guys a little bit. Right? I had these guys' emails already saved, but people change their email accounts so much. You know, they got new emails going on. So let me. All right, it's gonna be three brothers in here with me. The brother Ricky, the brother Blackburn, and the brother Coy. So let me let them know I sent it. Just a second. Okay. While we waiting on them to get in. Okay. What's up, world? Hotel world. This your brother Matthew Daniels, aka Ampu, right? AKA the chosen few, aka the real bookworm. I'm not a bookworm. I'm the real bookworm. Make sure you get it right. And as always, world, may your name live on forever, and may your memory never die. Hotel. Cheers to that. Yeah, what we're basically going to be doing today is we're going to be having a conversation. Me and three good friends of mine. These are real good friends of mine. We come from different perspectives on the topic. What we're basically going to be discussing is if the laws found in the Torah, right, the laws of Moses, if those laws should be followed and adhered to in modern times, like right now today. Should people right now today be living by and according to the laws found in the Torah? Now, I'm obviously going to allow everybody to state their own positions. You know, I don't want to state everybody's position for them. I'm going to allow them to speak for themselves. Okay, wait a minute. We got one brother in. Can you hear me, Brother Court? Brother Court, can you hear me? I don't know if you're muted or not, but I can't hear you, Brother Court. Brother Court, can you hear me? Okay. Oh, he's connected to the audio. All right, he's connected. Okay, Brother Coy, can you hear me now, Brother Coy?
Okay, yes, sir. I can hear you.
Okay, all right, good deal. Basically what I was doing, I was just letting the people know basically what we're going to be talking about. And so I was just letting them know that in this particular topic, we're not going to be having a debate. We're just going to be having a discussion. Now we do disagree, and sometimes we do disagree strongly, but it's really just a discussion, it's not a debate. We're just going to be talking about it. And as the other brothers come in, I'm going to let them expound on their thoughts and their feelings about it, and so we'll get a real good full and thorough understanding of the topic. But for starters, I do not believe that we should be living by the laws that's found in the Torah right now today in modern times. So Corey, what you can do, since you just tuned in, you can let the people know who you are, let them know what ideology you represent, and you can basically just let them know what stance you have on this topic. And look like we got Blackburn coming in. Okay, I'm gonna mute my mic and go ahead and let the people know.
Okay, my name is Coy, C-O-Y. Been a Christian all my life, you know, and so naturally, as a Black American, the natural inclination was to lean towards something close to Christianity. And I spent maybe a few years under the BHI doctrine, Black Hebrew Israelite doctrine, and now I'm what most of the world would consider a Jew, but I don't keep Judaism, if that makes sense. Like I don't follow the rabbinical traditions found in the Talmud. I'm basically Torah only or Tanakh only, Old Testament only. That's what most people would label me as. Even though I do read the New Testament, I don't read it for doctrine. So I think that kind of explains where I'm at. And as far as the topic is concerned, I'm kind of mixed, man. Do I believe everyone needs to be keeping the law of Moses or the Torah? Yes and no. I want to say yes, as far as all the social and the moral standards that you can find in the Torah, but do I think people need to be keeping like the ceremonial laws and the dietary laws? I think that's kind of up to people, but when we're talking about laws, if we're going to put these laws on everybody, I would say that the moral law is almost a universal law, because you find a lot of these things like not stealing and killing, etc., and other ancient cultures. It's not just, you know, Israelite only things. So I think since those things are universal, they wind up crossing cultural paths, and they can be something that we could all abide by and live in peace.
I agree. I agree, my brother.
Okay, real quick, we have another.
Yeah, hear me?
Brothers. Yeah, give me just a second. I'm finna introduce you, Blackburn.
Right.
So we just had another brother that just came in that I told you guys about. This is my brother Blackburn. Like I told you, we're all really good friends. There's not going to be a debate. We're just going to be having a discussion on the topic. And what we're basically doing, Blackburn, just we're letting people know who we are, basically what our ideological background is, where we stand on the topic, and just giving some general information about how we feel about the topic. And then we'll after we all introduce ourselves and they know who we are, we'll dive into it a little bit deeper. So I'm finna mute my mic and I'm gonna give you the floor. Just let me know when you finish.
Okay, cool. Are you able to mute my mic also? As stated before the meeting, I'm kind of moving around, but I am gonna address and deal with everything that I possibly can. But as soon as I finish dealing with it, you can go ahead and mute my mic.
Okay, yeah, I can mute you, brother.
Okay, well, my name is Blackburn, as you stated. I am a Bible believer. I am based on faith and covenant with the Most High. I'm kind of particular because if you know that's history, my history is not that far from it, being in a Christian church for so long and recognizing and realizing that that's not the truth, I pulled away. And with me doing that, I am very critical of religions and very critical of certain groups. However, I do believe in the Tanakh, as we would call it. I believe that there are some things that's true in the New Testament. However, if you was to put me in a category, I would consider myself under the covenant that quote unquote Jesus was under. Or how are you? So in regards to my theology, that's where I would be at.
Okay, you were you finished, brother?
If you don't mind, could you go ahead and read it? Yeah.
Okay. I have the brother on mute. I don't know if you're still talking. You unmute yourself if I muted you prematurely. So I'll just go and just start this conversation off. And it's good that we have both sides of the coin because we could kind of parse out some of these issues, right? I'll pick this one out just to illustrate some of the issues that I have and why I say I don't believe that people should follow those laws right now today. You can go to the first of the law that the majority of people know, known as the 10 Commandments, right? And basically it says in Exodus 20, I'm gonna start at verse 2. It says, I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. So right there, of course, since I'm not a believer, I'm automatically going to run into a problem. I see that one of the most prominent laws is to have no other God above the God of the Bible. And from my understanding, if you go deeper into the text, that's punishable by death if you violate that. So of course, if I'm openly saying that I don't worship the God of the Bible, right? And I may worship another God or another deity, or I may adhere to ancestral worship. Right there, I'm in I might be killed under that particular statute. And in today's world, I think you have to allow people to believe as they want. Now, maybe it's because I'm in America and we have the freedom of religion, and that's what I've been raised up in, so that's what makes most sense to me. But I believe in modern societies and in modern civilizations, people should be able to worship how they choose and how they want. And if they don't, I don't feel like people should be killed behind that. And so just to get the conversation started, that's one of the main issues that I would have with adhering to those laws today, because it openly tells you if you don't if you have any other God above the God of the Bible, we know that could be punishable by death. So it's forcing me into a certain belief that I may not have, my neighbor may not have, the person up the block may not have. I believe an individual should have some type of religious freedom. So I'm gonna pass the mic to you, Corey. You can comment on what I just said, and then you can bring up something about the law that you like, or you can take the conversation wherever you want, and you can just have it for a couple of minutes. I'm muting my mic now. Corey, you can jump in.
Okay, brother. All right, so let me look at the text. Exodus 20, verse 1. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God. So I want to stop at the part thy or your. I'm the Lord your God, or I'm Jehovah, Yahweh, however you want to say it. I am Yah, your God. He is talking to a group of people, I believe at the bottom of Mount Sinai here, or let me see, hold on. Yeah, because it says God spake all these words. Or let me not, I think Moses went up to the mountain and God said all this to him for him to tell the people. I'm not sure. I don't want to lie. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that this is okay. The God of Israel did not say here, everyone you find not worshiping me, put to death. What he's doing is he's making himself the national deity. And I'm not saying that there are other deities. I'm not saying they're not. But what he is, he's making himself the national deity and say, I'm your God. He gives his name, that capital L-O-R-D is just a tetragrammaton. So he's giving his name and he's saying, I'm your high power, I'm your Elohim, I'm your whatever, your deity. Okay, so it's something personal is what I'm trying to say. So I don't think this is for the whole world, because if so, he would have made some kind of edict. Whoever you catch not worshiping me must be put to death. And then on top of that, we can find plenty of times where people in the scripture, usually people of prominence, were influencing folks to worship other gods, and they themselves were not put to death. So I understand what you're saying, but this is not like it's not black and white. There's a lot of gray here is what I'm trying to bring out. There's a lot of gray when it comes to that one mitzvah or that one commandment. And that's it, brother.
Wait, let me ask you a quick question so we can do a little back and forth. So if we were following the laws of the Torah right now today, would I be legally allowed to worship another God?
If we, no, not if you yourself were keep in covenant. You wouldn't be allowed. But let's say you were some neighboring country, well, I mean, that's your prerogative.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead, jump in.
I just needed you to repeat that question one more time, Matt.
Okay, I'm framing this in the context of the topic. We're talking about if we should be following the laws of the Torah right now today in modern times. So I was asking if we were following the laws of the Torah right now today in modern times, if these were the laws that we had to abide by, like we abide by the laws of America, would I be allowed to worship other gods?
No, you wouldn't be allowed to worship other gods. But when you say the word allowed, I don't want to mix death or capital punishment in that today. But in today's time, you can't go to a Christian church and worship the Muslim God, and you can't go to a Muslim church and worship the Christian God. So in today's society, you have the freedom, just like they had the freedom, but you just couldn't do that within the congregation, if that makes any sense.
You mean like they could worship another God in their own home and it'll be okay?
No, I wouldn't say that they can worship another God in their own home. I would say that if you're going to be a part of this congregation, then this is what this congregation does. If you don't want to do this, you can leave this congregation. But as a congregation, as a whole, we're not going to allow things to break covenant rule, because in this congregation, not nowhere else, we worship the Hebrew, the God of the Hebrews.
Mm-hmm. So do you guys, well, all right, real quick, before I go off, we got the other brother in, Ricky, just so you can jump into the conversation. I thought it was going to be an echo if we had our mics unmuted, but it doesn't seem like that. Now, if it starts to happen, we'll go back to the mute, but you guys can unmute y'all mics. And Ricky, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people. Let them basically know where you stand on the what side of this topic you stand on of should we follow the laws of the Torah right now today in modern society, and just tell them a little bit about your ideological perspective so they know where you're coming from in this conversation.
Well, really, I'm just here to learn, and I'm really in between the two, and just checking out everybody's point of view. Do we need to live by the laws? I don't think we need to. It's all depending on that person and their perspective and what they should do, and it's all about you making the choice for yourself. I don't think everybody needs to, but just the person who wants to, if that makes them a better person, and that's what they need to do. I basically have a free mind, a free spirit. I'm free from religion and all religious beliefs, any kind of belief system. I'm free from that, but I'm just here to learn the Hebraic mindset, and that's you're really just gonna hear me chiming in from time to time, asking a few questions, but I'm really just basically here to learn. That's it.
Okay. So Corey and Blackburn, on that topic, so you guys feel like, because you purport that we should live by this law, you think it's okay to kill somebody because of their religious beliefs? Like, really? I'm just serious question.
No. I believe you have a choice. And like kind of piggybacking on what Blackburn was saying, if you're going to live amongst this congregation and this community, you're going to live by a certain ethical code, moral code. And one of these things is not worshiping other deities, because at least in ancient times, I don't know about now, I assume it's the same thing today. In ancient times, you worshiping another deity wasn't you going to church and singing songs and maybe giving some money, giving your time, your money, and your energy as far as being an usher or something like that. You were doing something. Every national deity had his or her acts, I guess, that you would have to perform, whether that's sacrificing your firstborn, whatever it is. If it's temple prostitution of your oldest daughter, I'm not trying to laugh, but things came along with it. And so it wasn't just about your religious freedom. Like Blackburn's saying, you could do that, but you're going to have to go live over there and do it. Now, what's the problem with that? I don't think there's an issue in saying, hey, we're living by a certain standard, and that this standard, is going to kind of piss on your God, but that don't mean you can't go outside the borders of this community and do what you do.
But the framework of the conversation is, should we live by these laws in modern society? So we're under these laws, and we're trying to interpret what it would look like living under these laws. It's like, I don't have a choice. Well, I do have a choice whether I want to go speed or not, but I'm going to be punished. Like, if these are the laws that we're living by, and Matt says he want to worship another God, what's going to happen to Matt? Will Matt be killed?
No, because everyone who worships another God was not always necessarily killed. But
so what's the punishment?
Man, we would have to have a council. I don't know. You might be banished. Who knows? But most likely, if the kingdom was here on earth, the kingdom of Israel was here on earth, and you were living amongst it, and you were one of the people who said, yeah, I do, to the God of the Hebrews, you might die. That possibility is there. Capital punishment is definitely a possibility, but also so is, mercy. You know what I'm saying? Mercy is always there too.
You want to jump in, Blackburn? Yeah, go ahead, brother.
When you say ancient times versus modern times, the foundation and the concepts doesn't change. However, the punishment does. Though that punishment was applicable in that particular time, at that particular location, with a legal system already in place. No matter what religion you're practicing right now, no one has the right to inflict capital punishment based off of religious idea or religious faith. So if you was practicing Islam and there's some things in the Quran, I'm not saying it is, not saying it's not, but if there were some things in the Quran that demanded death, such as if a woman cheated on her husband and the punishment for that was death, you would not be able to do that in modern society. You wouldn't be able to do that here in America. You may be able to do that in an Islamic controlled land, but as far as practicing laws, yes, you can. If you're worshiping other gods, you're not a part of our congregation. It's just that simple. But I have no right to kill you because I am not the sole owner of this particular land. And land changes ownership based on wars and politics. But as of right now, America is not governed by the Tanakh and Torah. However, they have taken some of the principles and foundations of the Old Testament and they live by them and they have instructed laws by them. So a law, for an example, if you kill, depending on the situation, then the United States will inflict capital punishment. That's no different than the law, the ancient law that was practiced. If you kill someone, we're going to inflict capital punishment. And but if you disregard the Sabbath day, since America is not living by the Torah, then there's no one has the right to inflict capital punishment.
Yep, y'all my brothers, but it feels like y'all tap dancing, and I got to turn this up a little bit. The hypothetical is, should we be living under these laws? You can't tell me in one breath I should be living under a law that says thou shalt have no other God but the God of the Bible, and then tell me that I should have religious freedom. If you believe in religious freedom, brother, either one of y'all, if either one of y'all believe in religious freedom, then y'all don't believe that we should be living under the laws in the Torah, because it ain't religious freedom in the laws of the Torah unless I'm mistaken. I don't see religious freedom. I see thou shalt have no other God before me. Now, if you're telling me you should have religious freedom, that's not living under the laws of the Torah, bro. I'm not gonna let y'all tap dance around that.
Okay, so let me say this. The question was, should we all be under? It don't work like that. You have to, it's like a marriage contract. You got to say, I do. If we all under, that means we all accepted it. So in my mind, if you accepted the covenant, you knew better and you decided upon it, you're the one that went and backslid. Nobody forced your hand. There wasn't a conquering. We didn't talk about some force. We said should we all be under? And at first I said, no, I don't think everything applies to everyone. Only things that are morally and socially righteous. You shouldn't be stealing from your neighbor and coveting your neighbor's things, etc. But if we're all under something, if you're gonna put it like that, that makes it seem like it's by force. So I don't believe this covenant is accepted by force. It's not like Christianity or Islam. You don't convert at the sword. It's something you gotta want to do on your own.
All right, let's get to the heart of it. If I could build my ideal society with ideal laws, I would give people religious freedom. If you could build your society based on the laws that you hold dear, would you give people religious freedom in your country, under your rule, under your laws? Would religious freedom be allowed? I would give people religious freedom that live right next door to me. Would you give religious freedom to those people that live right next door to you? Or would you demand by law that they serve the God of the Bible? That's right to the heart of the matter.
Okay, if it was up to me, I guess they would have religious freedom, but it wouldn't, I guess, no, it wouldn't necessarily be religious freedom, because I say you could worship and do whatever, but if your your sacrifices and worship unto this God goes against something that you know we put in place in law, then no, you can't do it. See what I'm saying? You can do whatever unless it violates this law.
Yeah, and
That's
religious
not
freedom violates the law.
that's not religious freedom then.
Yeah,
Well, it's not.
exactly, Ricky.
It's not, and Torah doesn't preach religious freedom. So you're right.
Well, see, the thing is, the world has religious freedom, but you don't have freedom once you accept a religion. You lose that freedom. The world all have religious freedom, but you lose that freedom once you accept a religion.
That's what I'm saying. Under the law that you feel like we should be living under, there is no religious freedom. That's all. That's the only point I was making. I would give religious freedom to my people. You wouldn't. I'm not saying that that's good, bad, right, or wrong. I'm just explaining why that's a problem for me, because I don't feel like if we're in this land, we all know if you go above the speed limit, you can be pulled over, right? Only thing I'm illustrating is if we're in you guys' land and we're living under the laws that you say we should be living under in this modern time and your ideal set of laws, me going over the speed limit is just like me practicing my own religion. I can't do it. And if I do it, okay, I understand there can be a varying degree of punishment, but I could be killed for this. Now I don't want to belabor that point. I want to go to something else that the brother Coy said. Okay, I understand that there are things in the Bible. Yeah, okay, you do got some good laws. Don't kill, don't steal, don't commit adultery, etc., etc. If you saw those same laws that you feel are good moral laws in another culture, would you be willing to accept all of the other laws of that culture, or would you only want to extrapolate those laws that you think are good? Because, Sumerians got some of those same laws. Would you promote following the Sumerian laws right now today because they tell you don't kill?
I'd have to. You're right. Extrapolate, I guess, is right, because I'm going to wind up leaning. You're going to have to tell me something of some ancient culture's law that doesn't agree with Torah, and then I'm going to have to say, no, I can't allow that. Not in my country. So, right, I'm going to be biased.
But I think we are talking about two different things here. In one breath, you say religion, and in another breath, you say land government. In the United States of America, you don't have freedom of laws. You can't practice other laws that's in other lands in America. You can't do it. And for an example, the Chinese government at one point in time says you cannot have more than a certain amount of kids. You can't practice that law here. You are forbidden to practice that law here.
Exactly.
So, but that's not a religion. That's an actual. That is an actual government, and it's different when you're dealing with a government than when you're dealing with a particular religion. You have differences, and one of those differences is God set up a land, man set up a religion.
Okay, I feel you. And that's why if I saw that about the Chinese that they could only have one child, I would say that no, brother, we should not be living by those laws in modern times. What you're doing is you're bringing these laws to modern times. So I wouldn't get caught in that trap, because I would just say I don't agree with that law. But you aren't allowed to not agree with the laws in the Torah once you've already accepted it. And that's going to go into my next point. Another big problem I got with it doesn't have room to grow and change. It's almost illegal to make new laws. And we know as society progresses, new challenges arise. So do you guys feel like it should be illegal to add laws to the laws of the Torah, meaning whatever those laws were 3,000 years ago, those should be the laws for the rest of eternity, and we shouldn't have no ability to create any other laws. Do y'all agree with that? No one can create any new laws, or they are in violation of the Torah law. Or can we make up new laws as we go?
I agree with that. No, you can't make up new laws. So that's my stance on it. I agree with that.
What about you, Coy?
Okay, I'm gonna say no, but you know, I got a clause. There are laws that are implied even though they're not written, right? Like it'll say man shouldn't lie with man as he lies with a woman, but it never says anywhere that a woman shouldn't lie with a woman. That's kind of implied. Now somebody can fight and say, no, it ain't written. How can you say that? You're adding to the law. Well, it's implied. It's implied that you're not supposed to lie with your own kind. Animals don't do it. Nothing in nature does it. I mean, not as a whole. You know, you might see an animal try, but they're trying something else. They don't, you know, they're not, in their mind, they're not trying a homosexual activity. They're trying to do what naturally is supposed to happen. They just don't realize it's not going to work. See? So, no, you can't add, but a lot of things are implied based on what it's saying.
Okay, so great. Now we know if we was to bring the Torah laws up to modern times, we can't add new laws because that's against the law, right? So what do you guys propose? We invent vehicles, we invent cars. So there can be no law about speed limits, no laws about red light, yellow light, green light, no laws about insurance, no laws about driver's license. How do we regulate things that exist now that did not exist 3,000 years ago if it's illegal to create new laws? What do you do? Do you just have no speed limit, or do you forbid people to create a car?
The Torah is not involved with these type of things. Now, these type of things would be things kings, you know, because if you're talking about Torah, then you're gonna be talking about a kingdom. A king would have to put these type of things in place in 2020. Of course, there would have to be, but this wouldn't have anything to do with dietary law, ceremonial law, purity laws, you know, moral laws, civil laws. Okay, I guess these would be civil laws, maybe. And so you make a good point in that sense. If we're going to add to the civil law, or would that be Torah, or would that just be something? No, I don't think that's Torah, man, because Torah is instruction from the Most High. It's what it's supposed to be. It's what that word is supposed to mean. So any edict that a man gives is just something, you know, that's put in place civilly that should be, but that's not Torah. So no, Torah can't be added to. I had to recant my statement on that.
You want to touch on that, Blackburn? Ricky? They may be a little busy. Just chime in if y'all want. So that's what I'm saying though. So do you, if we was to bring the Torah laws up to modern times, right? Do you believe that we should discard any law in the Torah that forbids us from making new laws, because we understand as new situations arise, you may have to create new ways to regulate that? Or do you say that no, nobody can make a law about a speed limit or a seatbelt or about insurance? Now we are just going to totally avoid regulating that, or do we amend the Torah law that's telling us we can't make new laws?
I'm going to have to correct you there. There is no Torah law that says you can't make new laws. What it is you're dealing with instructions. Torah just means instructions, and these are supposed to be instructions from the God of the Hebrews. So you can't add to what he said unless he cracked his car and start talking. See what I'm saying? And you can make all kind of kingly edicts, but you can't add to the instructions of him. It's going to wind up being King Matthew's Torah. See what I'm saying? King Matthew's rules. It can't be the Most High's rules. Those two things just don't go together.
That's why I started it asking if we could make new laws. Both of y'all told me no. Now, if we can,
we can't add to Torah.
Huh?
We can't add to Torah, which is the instructions of the Most High. See, so it's like,
what does that mean?
We can't add to what he supposedly said. You know, God spoke and said X, Y, and Z. We can't add an A to that or a B. You see?
Yes, you can.
We can govern ourselves, but we govern ourselves based on the laws that's given.
No, I'm saying you could physically change that if you wanted to.
Oh yeah. I could say, thus God said, pig is now clean.
Yeah.
I could do it. But to any person with a mind who spent time with pig, it wouldn't make sense.
But see, that's the difference. That it no longer is God's law. That's your law, because God's law doesn't change. So when you say it's okay to have a pig, God says it's not okay, then you're not changing God's law. God's law still remains the same, kosher. God never changes his law. God didn't, unless the author of the law comes and change it, it's not going to ever be changed. Now, you can change it and say, well, according to Matt or according to Coy or according to Blackburn, but if you say, well, what do God say about it, then God has spoken on it. So it's impossible to change it. God's law hasn't changed. The law is don't eat pork. So if the law is don't eat pork, it doesn't really matter what anybody else in the world say to it, because it's no longer, if you add to it, or if you say, well, God said don't eat pork, but I say, then it's no longer God. It's no longer God's law. It is now your law. And if that's the law that you want to govern yourself by, then that's fine. But you're not being governed by the law of God anymore. You're being governed by the law of man.
That's a great point, because Brother Matt, my rules don't apply in your house. Blackburn's rules, Brother Ricky's rules, they don't apply. You know, that goes all the way around the board. We might love each other and have a lot of respect for each other, but it might be okay to leave socks on the floor at my house. That might be a big no-no. I might have to take my shoes when I come, take my shoes off when I walk in Ricky's house. Or I'm just saying. See what I'm saying? And I got to abide by that man's rules because I'm in his house. So that's kind of what we're alluding to, the fact that, yeah, I believe that people should be abiding by these moral standards. But when I say religious freedom, I mean the freedom to go. Because the nation of Israel, or the kingdom, was never that big. You know, on the world scene, it was a small little place. So you didn't have to be there. But you can come live there if you wanted to, if you just want to get away from all the, razzle dazzle. You see what I'm saying? So,
and to piggyback on that Chinese thing, for an example, if the Chinese government says, we're only allowing 2 kids per parent, and your wife ends up pregnant a 3rd time, the law doesn't change. Now, you can leave, you can hide, you can do whatever you want to do, but the law still remains the same under this particular government. So under this government, you have the opportunity to go ahead, catch a plane, your wife is pregnant, catch a plane and get out and leave. But under this government, under the Chinese government, that 3rd child, if you decide to have that 3rd child, and I'm just using this hypothetically, I don't know the dynamics of that law, but I heard things about it. But anyways, if that was the law, just because you feel like it should be changed, or you don't think it's moral, or you think it's ancient, or you don't think it's up to time, it means absolutely nothing. The law is, according to the Chinese government, we only allowing 2 kids per household. Now, since the giver of that law, which would be the Chinese government, set that law in place, only the Chinese government can take that law away, or you have to live under another government. So if America comes in and say, you know what, we hate y'all for doing that, we're going to destroy y'all. They go and destroy the Chinese, they're destroying the Chinese government. So the Chinese government, the Chinese government rules and laws no longer are applicable because America has taken over their government. But if America doesn't take over their government and you over there and you with your third child, then they law steps in and say, no, that little boy and that little girl is coming with me because we told you, according to our law, you can only have 2 kids. Now, if, 30 years later, they say, you know what, that was Uncle Joe Blow, and we don't want to do what Uncle Joe Blow said do anymore. And the Chinese government that's over the people can say, you know what, y'all can have as many kids as you want. But as long as you under the Chinese government, you have to live according to the Chinese government laws. And I'm going to fade back out again, but I just want to throw that point out there before I forget about the Chinese government thing.
Okay, so basically, and before I go into the next point, basically what I'm hearing is you can make new laws. Basically, as new situations arise, you can make new laws, right? I just want to clear that up. Like we can make laws pertaining to the operation of a motor vehicle.
Right.
It's totally lawful to make laws. Okay, gotcha.
Well, like this. Think about the Nehemiah argument. Okay. Nehemiah told the Gentiles, don't come to the city gates of Jerusalem on the Sabbath and try to sell stuff to the people, because it's like you're distracting everybody from what they should be doing. Don't even come no more. Or, I'm gonna lay these hands on you. However he said it. And so he basically made a law. Now, it wasn't a Torah. He didn't add to the instructions of the Most High, but from that point on, it became a thing that we don't even go to these people to try to sell stuff, because, there was a guy a long time ago and he made it a thing. See, but it's not, he didn't add to the instructions of the Most High.
Well, yeah, I honestly, bro, I think that whole adding to the instructions of the Most High, I don't think that's a really good point, because if you're going to say that, okay, this is written, now I can't go in, or I'm not supposed to go in and write new words in the middle of the sentence that's already there, but I can write laws that aren't included in that. I'm adding to the law either way you look at it. Now, you may say I can't go in there and write a or a C or a D inside of the sentence that's already written, but if I can write a whole new law that says only go 35 miles per hour in this residential zone, it's actually the same thing. You actually are adding to the law. But I don't want to get bogged down on one particular point. Ricky, you haven't really chimed in. Do you want to chime in before I go on, brother, or you just listening? You may not even be there right now. Oh, there you go.
Nah, I am listening, and I was just fixing to say that when he was talking about Nehemiah added to the law. Whenever he told the people, like, don't come to the gate and try to sell things anymore, he actually did add to the law. So, I mean, I'm listening. I agree with you, Matt. I have nothing to just chime in right now, as of now, but it's a great discussion, and I am listening, man. But I do agree. Nehemiah, he added whenever he started doing that stuff, that hey, let's go to the gate and stop these people from selling, and then it became.
I will have to.
When it became where they started to do that after he did it, he just made some kind of adjustment to that law, man. That's all I gotta say. But that's just what it seems like. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong.
Were you about to say something, Blackburn?
Yes, I was. I had to make sure I was unmuted.
Okay, go ahead, brother.
The reason I disagree with what Ricky just said is because you can buy and sell according to the law. There's no law against you buying and selling.
On the Sabbath?
on the Sabbath. There's no law against it. Now, again, that's just, I mean, it's really nothing. There's no law against it at all. And any particular, if you find, and that's what I'm saying, when you go to the law, I'm not going to Nehemiah. When I go to the law, I'm going to the law of Moses, the law of God. I'm not going to Nehemiah. Nehemiah has absolutely nothing to do with the law. So when I'm engaging in the law, when I'm engaging in the law, I'm not engaged in Nehemiah. I'm engaged in Moses.
Let me ask you this, bro, because we got to deal with that point because you brought that up again. In ancient Israel, under the laws of Torah, were there people who were specifically set aside to interpret the law? I don't want to assume.
Were there people specifically set aside?
Yes. Like how we have judges, like a person would have to be a judge to actually interpret and enforce these laws, like when you go to court. Was there somebody in Israel that interpreted these laws? Like, let's say me, you, Boy, and Ricky, let's say we all disagree about the Sabbath, right? In ancient Israel, where would the final word come from? Who would say who is right and who is wrong?
Judges.
Yeah, there was a council.
So, okay,
judges and councils.
So I guess what I'm trying to get at is, let's say in the scenario we're using, we're bringing the law, the Torah law up into modern times. Would you even be allowed, you personally, would you even be allowed to make the determination if what Nehemiah said? How can you tell the prophet Nehemiah that he's wrong about the law? Wouldn't he outrank you, brother?
What do you mean, me tell Nehemiah he's wrong about the law? Explain that statement, because that don't make sense to my Hebrew mind.
He just said what Nehemiah said about the law was not law, right? Now we know some of this law has to be interpreted, and there's specific people whose job it was to interpret the law, and their interpretation would solve the dispute, right? So if Nehemiah is interpreting the law this way and Blackburn is interpreting it this way, why would I believe Blackburn over Nehemiah? Does Blackburn outrank Nehemiah in the interpretation of the law?
If it comes to Nehemiah,
Blackburn, I don't get that. That don't make sense to me what you're saying, because I don't think you understand how that thing works. You're saying like two men and one man would have more rank than the next, and so I would go with that man's word. It didn't really necessarily work.
If me and you, Coy, disagreed about the law, right? Who would determine who's right about their interpretation?
The Most High.
But how will we know what the Most High thinks?
Because he spoke to his prophets, his priests, and you see what I'm saying? Like judges, before there were kings, judges went directly to the Most High, and that's how they were able to settle disputes before there was a council.
Exactly. So if we have a prophet, right? If we have a prophet saying something about the law, and Blackburn saying that prophet is wrong about the law, right? Why would I believe Blackburn is correct about the law and the prophet is wrong about the law?
Well, hold on, Blackburn, did you say the prophet was wrong about a law?
No, I said that, what I said specifically is that there is no law against buying and selling on the Sabbath day.
Right. Okay, so this goes back to the point that my brothers don't quite understand what it means about the law, adding to the law. That's not adding to the law. Talking about speed limits and school zones and not to sell here on such and such date, that's not adding to the instructions of the Most High. That's not
Oh,
something. It's something that the man said, if you do this, I'm going to lay hands on you. That's all. It had nothing to do with the Most High. It had to do with
oh,
Nehemiah.
okay.
And when Nehemiah was dead,
Can
if
you
somebody
buy
wanted,
and sell on the Sabbath? Yes or no?
yes, yes.
Did
You can buy
Nehemiah
it.
say you can't?
Did Nehemiah say you can't?
Yes, because that's what
No,
I
he
heard
did.
Ricky just say.
No, it's the interpretation of what I was saying about him telling the Gentiles not to come to the gates of the city on the Sabbath. Don't even come here. Like on the
Ricky,
evening
did
of, you be
Nehemiah
packing
say
up
you
and
can't
leaving.
buy and sell on the Sabbath, Ricky? Is that
Nah,
what you?
I never heard Nehemiah say that, but I did hear Coy say that he was getting on the Gentiles' ass for doing it. And he was telling them don't do it because it might disturb the Jews, I guess. I'm guessing, well, no,
Okay.
from my knowledge, you're not supposed to do that because Jews today, even they go shopping and do all their grocery shopping before the Sabbath. They don't do anything on the Sabbath. So me hearing that they can buy and sell on the Sabbath now is something new because they don't do that. They do all their buying and selling on a Friday, and by sundown Friday night, they chilling so they can rest on the Sabbath. The only thing you're supposed to do on the Sabbath is rest, you know? So I've never heard that they're supposed to buy and sell, or they're allowed to buy and sell. You're not supposed to do any work. So this is all new to me. Like I said, I'm just here learning.
And
To answer your
okay,
question, Matt, no, I'm just speaking on Coy. Coy said he was getting on the Gentiles. Nehemiah was getting on the Gentiles, but for doing that on the Sabbath.
did somebody in the Bible die for picking up sticks on the Sabbath? Is that an accurate story?
Yes.
So
Yes, that's accurate.
okay, so why did he die for picking up sticks on the Sabbath? Like, explain the rationale
Well,
to that to me.
okay, I don't have the verse in front of me, but the first time he introduced the Sabbath to the children of Israel in the wilderness, watch what he said. I don't have the verse. I don't know if you can pull the verse, Blackburn, but he said something to this effect. He said, on the sixth day, gather twice as much because the next day will be the Sabbath. He said, and I want to see if they will keep my commandments. I want to see if they'll do what I ask them to do before they get to this place I'm promising them. And so I think that ties into what you're asking. It was, if that makes sense what I'm saying. Does that make sense? He wanted to see if they were going to do it. That's in the text. I'd have to go find it if you want me to read it to you.
So he was wrong for picking up the sticks though, because he died, right?
He was put to death, yes. He was
Yeah.
wrong for disobeying.
Disobeying the Sabbath command, right? He was picking up sticks. So okay,
Right.
so can you pick up sticks on the Sabbath, like right now? Do y'all think that an individual should be potentially killed for picking up sticks on the Sabbath?
No.
What about you, Blackburn? Okay, he may be busy. Now this is what I'm going back to. Now, with that whole interpretation of the law. Now, apparently, if Moses and the ancient Israelites set up specific people to interpret the law, then that means them and Moses understood that the law would have to be interpreted. Some of these things have to be ambiguous, as if, okay, keep the Sabbath. You got to ask yourself, so how do I actually do that? What does that mean? Now, I see an extreme case of somebody who picked up sticks on the Sabbath being killed, right? And then we may even get into a discussion about, okay, can you buy and sell on the Sabbath? Now, this goes back to that original point. If you guys say that you can buy and sell on the Sabbath, what I was saying is, how do you have the authority to interpret that law like that? Isn't it just as plausible that you can't buy and sell on the Sabbath? You don't really know. The only answer is you don't know if you can buy and sell on the Sabbath. Honestly, if this man died for picking up sticks,
Okay, so at the beginning of my statement, a long time ago when I first started, I said that the moral and the civil things apply. Picking up sticks, and I forgot what the first thing you brought up was. These things don't apply to anything morally. Okay, so no, I can't put them on nobody right now. I can't put you picking up sticks. That applied to them in the wilderness. Because you never heard nothing about that ever again in Israelite history about a man gathering sticks and dying. There was whole groups of people buying and selling and doing all kind of stuff. It was about not doing laborious work. You're supposed to take one day out and not focus on yourself. We're in a age now